Good evening, everybody, and welcome to b.hive Productions 2025 Holiday Special. And if you are viewing this at this time, it is Christmas Day or Christmas evening, however you guys want to go about it. But tonight, or today rather, I am going to be reading you Midnight Dreary from my book. Thin Spots, if I can grab a hold of it here. Here we go. This one right here. Thin Spots. Today's reading is going to be a Christmas reading, of course. And it's called Midnight Dreary. And the legend behind Midnight Dreary, it's an origin story. If you remember from last year's Christmas celebration or holiday special, I read Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and he was the malevolent twin brother of Santa Claus. And after I had read that story last year, I said, you know what am I going to read for next year? And so here we are. And I wrote this one, Midnight Dreary. And it is the origin, not only of the Anti-Claus, but it is also the origin of St. Nicholas, who was a real person. And I thought before I started the story, I would let you in on some lore of good old St. Nicholas here. And let's see, let me get on to that here. St. Nicholas. The true story of Santa Claus begins with Nicholas, who was born during the 3rd century in the village of Patara in Asia Minor. At this time, the area was Greek and is now on the southern coast of Turkey. His wealthy parents, who raised him to be a devout Christian, died in an epidemic while Nicholas was still young. Obeying Jesus' words to sell what you own and give the money to the poor, Nicholas used his whole inheritance to assist the needy, the sick, and the suffering. He dedicated his life to serving God and was made Bishop of Myra while still a young man. Bishop Nicholas became known throughout the land for his generosity to those in need, his love for children, and his concern for sailors and ships. Under the Roman Emperor Diocletian, who ruthlessly persecuted Christians, Bishop Nicholas suffered for his faith. He was exiled and imprisoned. The prisons were so full of bishops, priests, and deacons, there was no room for the real criminals, murderers, thieves, and robbers. After his release, Nicholas attended the Council of Nicaea in AD 325. He died December 6th, AD 343 in Myra, and was buried in his cathedral church, where a unique relic called manna formed in his grave. This liquid substance, said to have healing powers, fostered the growth of devotion to Nicholas. The anniversary of his death became a day of celebration, St. Nicholas Day, which is December 6th, December 19th, if on the Julian calendar. Through the centuries, many stories and legends have been told of St. Nicholas's life and deeds. These accounts help us understand his extraordinary character and why he is so beloved and revered as protector and helper of those in need. One story tells of a poor man with 3 daughters. In those days, young women's father had to offer prospective husbands something of value, a dowry. The larger the dowry, the better the chance that young woman would find a good husband. Without a dowry, a woman was unlikely to marry. This poor man's daughters, without dowries, were therefore destined to be sold into slavery. Mysteriously, on 3 different occasions, a bag of gold appeared in their home, providing the needed dowries. The bags of gold, tossed through an open window, are said to have landed in stockings or shoes left before the fire to dry. This led to the custom of children hanging stockings or putting out shoes eagerly awaiting gifts from St. Nicholas. Sometimes the story is told with gold balls instead of bags of gold. That is why 3 gold balls, sometimes represented as oranges, are one of the symbols for St. Nicholas. And so St. Nicholas is a gift giver. Now, he has been known as a protector of children. And there's many stories about him rescuing children from bandits and rescuing them from pirates and all kinds of bad guys. There's one story that tells of 3 theological students traveling on their way to study in Athens. A wicked innkeeper robbed and murdered them, hiding their remains in a large pickling tub. It so happened that Bishop Nicholas, traveling along the same route, stopped at this very inn. In the night he dreamed of the crime, got up, and summoned the innkeeper. As Nicholas prayed earnestly to God, the 3 boys were restored to life and wholeness. In France, the story is told of 3 small children wandering in their play until lost, lured, and captured by an evil butcher. St. Nicholas appears and appeals to God to return them to life and to their families. And so St. Nicholas is the patron and protector of children. Several stories of Nicholas and the sea. When he was young, Nicholas sought the holy by making a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. There, as he walked there, where Jesus had walked, he sought to more deeply experience Jesus' passion and resurrection. Returning by sea, a mighty storm threatened to wreck the ship. Nicholas calmly prayed. The terrified sailors were amazed when the wind and waves suddenly calmed, sparing them all. And so St. Nicholas is the patron of sailors and voyagers. So, there you have it. There are some stories for you regarding St. Nicholas. Now, I've added some of those stories and some of that lore, but we are talking about the origin of the Anti-Claus. And that is what this story is mainly about. So, without further ado, I'll give you the story, Midnight Dreary. Midnight Dreary. Myra Turkey, A.D. 325. The salty essence of the sea air filled his damp cell, cleansing the reek of defecation and urine about him. It was a welcome scent and reminded him of his time at sea. The moon glowed, the only bright light, leaving a blue hue on everything it touched. "Awaken, man of God," a voice called from the darkness beyond the moonbeam. "Your master has a message for you." The man was already awake, but he only laid there on the tattered sackcloth that was his bed. "If you are truly here on behalf of my master," the man said quietly, "the guards would have never let you in." "They sleep," the voice said. Judging by the confidence in his visitor's voice, he believed him. He sat up and was in shock that his visitor was inside his cell. "What manner of sorcery is this?" he said with some shaken authority. "No sorcery, only the will of the One Most High." His visitor removed the hood it had draped over its head, and beneath the cloak it wore came rustling, as if feathers were beating together. "What are you?" the man asked, frightened. Before him was something inhuman. It was made of several wings that fluttered constantly, with many eyes blinking in session, with their owner's wings flapping. "I am," it said with a thundering voice. The man laid prostrate on the ground before it. "Do not fear," it said, "but stand, for I come bearing great news." "I do not deserve an audience with the host of holies," the man said. "I am so far from the grace of the Lord." "Humble though you may be, the king brings word for you of great importance." "How may I serve thee?" "Bishop Nicholas of Myra, you have served well with your heart and soul. You have performed miracles and given charity to those less fortunate." "Only by the blessings of God." "While this be true, you did these things of your own free will. Now the Lord commands that you be a beacon for futures to come, to spread tidings of goodwill and peace amongst the future generations of earth." I am but a man. How can I? "You will be transformed. You will become new, granting you powers beyond what you can even fathom." But I am exiled. The Emperor, Diocletian, would never release." "Rome will not stand forever. The Emperor is a fool, and he will fall." "When will this all happen?" "You will know not the day nor the time, but when your ascension happens, you must go forth to the north. It is there you set up your new home. It is there you will continue your ministry." But they will find me. They will kill me." "Fear not, for the Lord will hide you from their sight." And so it came to pass. Diocletian had aged rapidly, and handed over his rule, and died. Emperor Constantine came into power, and Nicholas was released from his bondage and continued to lead his church as Bishop of Myra. He served on the Council of Nicaea and exiled Arius as a heretic who denied Jesus of Nazareth of his holy station. He performed many miracles in the Lord's name, including resurrecting children who had been lured into a butcher shop, who had intended on serving them as pork. The butcher had killed them and pickled them in barrels. Then, at midnight, on a foggy evening in December A.D. 343, he was visited again. This messenger was different than the first. This one was made up of wheels, 2 of them made of what seemed like bronze. The smaller one turned within the larger one, and both were covered with eyes that blazed like lightning. There were also wings that fluttered about on all sides, and the faces of men within the wheels. "It is time, then," Nicholas said. "It is time," the visitor said. Nicholas removed his red cloak and vestments and knelt before the being. "In order for you to ascend," the angel spoke, "we must purge you of all your humanistic traits, cleanse you of your impurities. All this in order to be the pure servant of the Lord Most High." "Very well," Nicholas said and closed his eyes. The wheels within spun faster until the faces of men were blurred. The lightning from the eyes lit together and exploded with brilliance, and then enveloped Bishop Nicholas. He screamed as he felt every iota of his being stripped and cleansed. The process felt like hours, but only lasted for minutes. As the last tendril of lightning finished its job, Nicholas laid there for a moment, letting the steam clear off of him. His skin, normally olive in color, glowed to the point of being its own light source. He noticed his hair had turned pure white, that had the same iridescence continuing in a long white beard. The bishop uttered, I am new. You are pure and clean, the angel said. All impurities have been cast off from you, and you are no longer tethered to the ways of the world. So, I am. Your free will has been stripped from you. Nicholas only stood there. His mind tried to argue this fact, but then washed away as fast as it came. It is that way with all of us, the angel spoke. We must all follow the will of God without question. What is that? Nicholas pointed to a pile of burned sludge that bubbled and writhed next to him. It is what is left of your humanity. And what will you do with it? That is not your worry anymore. Go now, head north, and begin the purpose you've been given by the holiest of hosts. Nicholas began to walk away when he heard a soft, gurgling voice come from the pile of sludge. Do not leave me, brother, it said. Nicholas stopped in his tracks and looked down at it. His brow lifted and softness returned to his icy blue eyes. Do not listen to it, the angel commanded. It is filth. It is every dirty thought you have had, every ounce of evil that coursed through your veins. It is not worth the mercy you feel for it now. But Nicholas had knelt beside it. As Christians, shouldn't we? You are no longer Christian, Nicholas. That is a human sect, created and ran by the human race. You are beyond that now. You are of God. You must not leave me, it said. I am part of you. Don't let it destroy me. Go now, Nicholas. The angel's tone became more ominous. I will not leave this part of me, Nicholas said. I have spent the sum of my life tending to the needs of those that are less fortunate. I saved those women from the flesh trade. I gave support to those who were hungry and homeless. I did this all in the name of... The wheels began to churn again, this time faster than the last. The heads within began singing some sort of song with words that were not decipherable. Power, so blindingly strong, blasted from the being, and Nicholas had been engulfed in it, ripping apart every atom of his being and then assembling them back again. Nicholas was on all fours, staring straight at the ground. Brother, the thing beside him pleaded, do not forsake me. I beg of you. The bishop stood. He was naked and glowing, brighter than previous. Without a word, he walked out of the courtyard and began his journey north. The black puddle was steaming and bubbling. It began to stretch out, screaming as it tried to take shape. For a moment, it took the shape of the bishop, and then it fell into a puddle again. The angel, still spinning in its impossible speed, threw out bolts of lightning, striking the shape until it was just charred remains. What is this? It was a priest who had come to witness the commotion. He had brought a few monks with him. Your bishop has ascended, the angel spoke. The angel had taken the shape of a man now, dressed in a cloak threaded with gold. Lightning sparked from its width and breadth. The priest and the monks had fallen on their knees, bowing to the angel as it disappeared in a flash of pure light. The remains were buried in the basement of the Cathedral of St. Nicholas in Myra. Christmas cheers, by the way. The Vatican, 1054. The priest, who had been the one to witness the angel of the Lord ascending Bishop, now sainted, Nicholas, stood before Pope Leo IX. The priest was a cardinal now, and had brought forth the news of the Muslim Turks invading the maritime city of Myra. There is a schism within the church, the Pope said without looking at the cardinal. These Eastern Orthodox branches are trying to prune themselves from the holy Catholic tree. But, Your Eminence, the cardinal said, if we pull back from our Eastern brethren, we leave ourselves vulnerable to the Muslims. So be it, the Pope said. But I saw the angel of... I heard what you saw in Myra, Cardinal. I also know that Myra is a city of sailors and transients, drunkards and prostitutes. Perhaps you were indulging too much that night to know what you really saw. Perhaps, the Cardinal said regrettably. He had found celebrity in his tale of this supernatural event, and did not want to lose his level of pull within the Vatican's hierarchy. The news had traveled fast in Italy. A group of merchants had broken into the church of St. Nicholas and taken the major remains of what was buried beneath the church and enshrined them in the Basilica di San Nicola of the city of Bari, Italy. The remainder of those remains were taken during the Crusades by Venetian sailors and brought back to Venice. Bari, Italy, 1346. He couldn't see, but he could sense. Something, small and hairy, was scuttering about in his sarcophagus. He could feel its petite, tiny, clawed feet crawling across his charred shape. If I could just will my remains to... He struggled to concentrate. The rat jerked back from the piece of charred flesh it was thinking about nibbling on. It was alarmed because it was sure it had moved slightly. Closer, you dirty rodent. Closer. The rat's whiskers twitched, trying to sense movement at its potential meal. Witnessing no danger, it crawled upon the chunk of charred bone matter and began picking at it. Gotcha! The ash flowed around the frightened rodent. It began to take the shape of several tendrils and pierce the flesh of the fat animal. It squealed in pain, and soon its thoughts were no longer its own. The black remains absorbed the rat and took its shape, though this time its color matched the burned muck. The ash became flesh, and it crawled its way out of the tomb and inhaled the fresh air of Italy. It had taken its first human on board an Italian merchant ship, and by the end of its voyage it had taken the crew of 12. When that ship took port in Sicily, it had infected the populace with its essence, killing millions across Europe. His main goal was to kill the Pope, but had only managed to disseminate his staff. Having failed killing God's emissary, he went looking for his brother. He had taken the shape of a bishop from the Vatican. Keeping the shape of a human being was difficult, and it took a lot of will and essence from those poor souls who had come into contact with it. Its first stop was Myra. Finding the old tomb he once laid in, emptied and ransacked, he headed north into Europe, leaving a trail of dead in his wake. There were rumors that his brother had headed to points north, so he set voyage into England. He moved about using the bodies he'd had absorbed. Keeping corporeal was no easy task, so he kept it dark in alleys and shady pubs. Having turned up without any trace of his brother, he set sail into the lowlands, which were also called the Netherlands. His minions had heard whispers of someone called Saint Nicholas, who was performing miracles amongst the Frisians. 1353, Groningen Highland, Netherlands. A single monk sat in prayer in the inner gardens. He was a hermit, which was customary in this region, one of the first Catholic monasteries raised in the Netherlands that sat atop a hill overlooking the marshlands. The winds blew fiercely, and when a burnt, pungent odor wafted into the garden, the monk ceased his prayers. "Name yourself," the monk said, not moving from his position. Lurking in the shadows, a shape shifted and moved deeper into the darkness. "They call me many things, monk," the thing said, "but you can call me Kako Episcopos if you'd like." The monk opened his eyes and stood. He lifted his right hand and did the sign of the cross. "The evil bishop," the monk replied. "I think it fitting, don't you?" "Fitting? How?" "My brother is heralded as the bishop most high amongst the church and the people, so wouldn't I take the opposite?" "Who is your brother?" "You're not a very good actor, monk. I know my brother was here. You'll have some penance to do for that little lie." "I'm afraid I don't know what you—" "Enough of this," the evil bishop said, and a long black tentacle whipped out from the darkness and coiled around the shocked monk. "Please," the monk pleaded, "I assure you that My brother has ascended by the angels of heaven," the bishop spat, pulling the struggling monk into the shadows slowly. "He was reformed and elevated to a higher existence. I am what is left of his humanity. Now your whimpering, lying soul is going to tell me you haven't seen or heard of him? You may be out here amongst the frogs and leeches of the swamps, little man of God, but I know my brother has been here. I can smell him on you. Taste him on you. No, please. An appendage from many suckers lit upon the monk's face, tasting his every pore. Where is my brother? Where is the one people call Saint Nicholas? He. Are you laughing? The evil bishop entered the mouth of the monk with a pulsating tendril and filled his body with his essence. He dropped the monk to his knees. The monk coughed and gagged, trying to vomit the evil from his guts. He went north, the monk finally said before he retched up black bile and curdled chunks. North, the evil bishop yelled. We are the furthest point north. There is nothing north of this but the sea. He left on a skiff into the auroras. The evil bishop released the monk. He lay there on the ground, convulsing as the obsidian essence coursed through his soul, his heart beating heavily as the essence began to suffocate it. The aurora borealis glimmered like a rainbow seen below the surface of the ocean. The sea was calm, and the occasional iceberg drifted nearby. A fog began to thicken, and visibility was beginning to lessen. It was miles north of Greenland now, and would soon reach the ice shelf of the Arctic Ocean. Miles north he could make out a glow that came from an island. It knew that its brother was there. It could feel them. When his ship went up into the ice, he left his crew and set out for the island alone. The trek was tedious and cold. He regretted not feeding on the way there. Little chunks of him were freezing and falling off along the way. Before him stood a giant cathedral made entirely of ice. A bright glow shined out from its multiple colors. He trudged up the front gate, which was frozen shut. Brother, he shouted, show yourself. The lights within shimmered, and there were bells that rang high in the steeple. The gates rumbled, and then ice chips began to fall from the spindles. The evil bishop slowly stepped in, and from the great stairwell 2 angels descended upon him. They were covered with eyes and had several wings also covered in eyes. A bright shimmering light emitted from them. You are not welcome here, one of them said. You should not be alive, said the other. And yet, the evil one said, here I am. Where is my brother? He is not your brother. You do not deserve to be called so. You are an abomination. And you are a coxcomb. Now fetch my brother, or I'll... Lightning began to erupt from the angels, snapping and crackling like whips. Claw-like appendages shot out from the bishop's form from every side, snapping menacingly at the angels. Try it, the bishop said. You've tried to kill me once before. Please, came a calm voice from behind the angels. Let there be no violence here. This is a place of peace. Brother? The bishop lowered his claws and retracted them inside of himself. "You're a long way from home," St. Nicholas said. "I could say the same of you." "This is my home now." "Then it shall be my home as well." His brother lowered his head. The angels began their lightning show again until Nicholas raised his hand for them to calm. "I think you know that cannot happen," St. Nicholas said. The bishop's shape undulated several times, taking the form of those it had killed, and then stopped on the shape of his brother, holding that shape for only but a moment. "But we are brothers," he said pleadingly. "Though we are from the same flesh," his brother said, "you are corrupt. You have spread a plague across the known world with your presence. I was looking for you. Be that as it may, I belong to God now. I am to continue with his ministry. In his works, I cannot live with my corrupted self. But I am lonely without you, brother. I promise not to interfere with your work. You were removed from me so that I may do his work, without the distractions that you present. But I can learn to be good. I can follow your lead. I could... I am truly sorry, but this cannot be. You aren't even supposed to exist. You're a coward. It is time for you to go now. Go? Where am I supposed to go? Back into the world. Back amongst the sons of Adam and the daughters of Eve. Send me back there, and I will feed upon those you seek to minister to. I will devour those that you give charity to. You exist because of me, brother. Do not forget yourself, nor you, angels of God. It was your works that brought about the likes of me, and now you will all pay for this." St. Nicholas whispered to his angels, and they to him. After several minutes of discussion, they all turned their attention to him. "You brought about a good point, St. Nicholas, the one some call St. Nicholas, or Sinterklaas said. "We have decided that you must be exiled to the furthest point from here. You will not be allowed to step foot here again, and those that receive my blessings will forever be protected from you. This will be the last we see of each other, brother." The two angels began their light show again. This time, St. Nicholas didn't stop them. He walked up the steps to his cathedral and disappeared within. "You'll regret this, Nicholas," the evil bishop screamed. "You may never see me here, but I will haunt your dreams forever." With that, spears of lightning ripped through the air and stabbed the evil bishop. He writhed in pain as his body began to disassemble. His rage grew and kept the pain away. He was blinded by pure white light, and then there was a loud popping sound coming from the space that he once occupied. 1366, Antarctica. Somewhere within the bleak, snow-filled wind, a dark shape quivered amongst the rocks. A group of penguins waddled about, not knowing the danger that was writhing about them through the permafrost. And that, my friends, is the end of Midnight Dreary and the beginning of the Anti-Claus, who you might see down the road more. Who knows? Who knows? Anyhow, I am probably in Florida now, probably warm, probably sipping one of these, or maybe dipping myself in a pool. Either way, I hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas this year, and probably the next live event, unless I do a live stream from Florida or something. The next time I see you will be 2025. So, which is cool because we've been doing this for over a year, and I've learned some things, and I've still made the same mistakes. So it's getting fun. It has been fun, and I've really appreciated a lot of you guys that have keep coming every Tuesday and Wednesday, and anytime I decide to pop up on here. I'm gonna try to grow this in 2025, and I've got other books, I've got other stories, I've got other different stories that aren't horror. They're more drama, so and adventure. So yeah, I'm hoping we can create days around those and reading those. Maybe reading more poetry, because you guys seem to, well, some of you guys seem to like that. Anyhow, I appreciate all the new numbers that I've got here as far as followers. If you haven't started yet, please like and subscribe to this, or go onto my YouTube channel. It's YouTube / Brad Bodeker. And yeah, please subscribe to that. I have like 30 subscribers on there now, or a little over that. So anyhow, I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. I hope you're enjoying yourselves, making memories with your kids, or making memories with your parents and your family. So I wish I was hanging out with you guys live, because I do miss the interaction when I'm reading a story to you guys. So this is a little different. But anyhow, I love you guys. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Be safe out there. And hopefully I'll be visiting with Kevin here in about 6-7 hours. So, because it's a Friday night that I'm recording this. So, all right. Thank you very much for watching the 2024 holiday special here at the b.hive Productions. Love you all. Merry Christmas. I'm out.